Good morning. This is Dr. David A. Padgett. This is World Regional Geography 1010, Section 98A, Spring Semester 2021. Today is March 29, 2021. I'm going to share my screen now. So going to get us into our section here. So again, just a little bit of housekeeping. We have due today, due on Friday will be research quiz 3. So I'll talk about that later today. Article review 5 is still due this evening. And then article review 6 will be due on next Monday. So there's not a lot left of this semester. We are rolling through it. So continue to work hard. The end is very, very near. The end is in sight. So you will only have a little bit more to go here. A couple of quizzes, a couple more assignments, final exam project, and I believe we will be done here. I think the last day of class is the 23rd of April. And then finals week is April 26th to the 30th. And so you all will be working on a project that week. We're not going to have an exam per se, but you'll complete a project, a hands-on project that will serve as your final exam during that week. And that will do it for the semester. It'll be all over very quickly. So today I'm going to start off by taking a look at some of the results here. I'm going to stop my share for just a moment so that I can look at some of what has been turned in thus far for the research quiz. And so let's see who's here today. So let's see, we have Shania's here today. So let's look at Shania's answer sheet. Looks good so far. And I'm going to go back to sharing the screen in a moment. Okay, of course, I'm going to have to pull the quiz up. Let's see, it was research quiz 2, unit B. Okay. That should be. Okay, so wow. So this was the quiz. Make sure that's the right one. Okay, yeah, it's the right one. I didn't edit the answer, but that's been edited the title of the quiz, but whatever. Glad you all figured that out. Okay. Let's see. So we have Sutton's answers here. I'm not going to say what's right or wrong, but again, this is constructive criticism, so don't take anything that I say personally. This is to help you do better on the next quiz. So let's see. So for the first question, just give me a moment here. Okay. So for the first question asked essentially about which one of the statements below is true. Let's see. Well, this was turned in. I think we can share the answer. So the question is, which one of the statements below is true? During the 20th century, Great Migration, jobs in the primary economic sector in the South were major pull factors, and so on and so forth. Let's cut right to the chase. So Shania Sutton answered B. During the 21st century, counter-migration, loss of jobs in the U.S. manufacturing belt were major push factors. So B was the correct answer to that question. The explanation, the explanation probably would have been better if it stated specifically why the counter migration happened. Perhaps, what were the push and pull factors associated with the counter migration, which actually were listed in the question itself. And so the loss of jobs in the U.S. manufacturing belt were, of course, the precedent for a decline in quality of life, increased crime in cities like Chicago and Detroit, and decreased economic opportunities. So, not that explanation should be more specific to what was answered in the question. Okay, that's people migrate for lots of reasons. It's just not specific enough. But the reference source is very good. It says, okay, push and pull factors. Again, I really would have wanted a reference that was more specific to your answer. It just says I talked about push and pull factors. But what push and pull factors, again, were specific to the counter migration. And that would be a better way to express that answer. Okay, let's go to D. So that one's borderline. That one might be 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3. That's borderline. I'll have to, when I go back to grade it, you see why it takes so long to grade these things. I have to actually think about what I'm reading. I think we have a better result for number 2. So for number 2, Sutton answers the question: the impact of the fall line upon historical development, urban development patterns in the eastern region of the United States, and most closely related to the, let's see what she said. She said D. Yeah, the best answer would have been E. Okay, because the 4 traditions of geography are the spatial tradition, the human land tradition, the earth science tradition, and the area studies tradition. So those are the 4 traditions of geography. Notice that E is the only answer that has 2 of the 4 traditions of geography in it. So it should have been E. Earth science tradition focuses upon the Earth's physical systems, and of course, the human land tradition focuses upon the impact of humans upon the land and the impact of the land upon humans. And so in this case, Sutton correctly answered that the fall line is the boundary between the Piedmont region and coastal plains, PLAINS. But that, and then she's very specific about what the fall line is. So here's a case of where this particular student got the answer wrong, but explanation, okay, yeah, definitely knows what the Piedmont region is and has a reference directly to where I discussed the fall line in the Piedmont. So in this case, this will be a 2 out of 3. Good, good, wrong. So here we have another case of where you might take a multiple choice exam, for whatever reason, get the answer wrong, but your logic almost got you there. I think the slip up was you didn't go back and look at the 4 traditions of geography. That was the slip up. But still 2 out of 3, which is good. Let's see. Let's go to one more for Sutton, and we'll look at somebody else's. Okay, number 3, blank was a push factor for human internal migration in the U.S. beginning in August 2005. Can't believe that's been almost 16 years ago, Hurricane Katrina. And so let's go and let's see. So Sutton answered E, Hurricane Katrina. Okay, so she got that right. Next, Hurricane Katrina pushed people to migrate to another place, live in another region. So good. Explanation. Threw some vocabulary words in there. Push factor. Definite. And then mentions, boom. So this one, Shania got all 3. Correct answer, good explanation, good reference source. So this is, she has a specific section of the textbook. Mentioned that it is the Bradshaw textbook, page number. This kind of detail is what I'm looking for all of your answers. Let's try one more. Number 4. Since Sutton seems to be getting better now, so it's number 4. She said the answer was C, correct. Population data sheet. This has the exact number. This is something else. If you find data, include the data in your answer. Don't just say, oh, I looked at the 2020 U.S. World Population data sheet. No, what was in the data sheet? What was the answers? That's exactly what Sutton has here. And then in terms of a reference source, data sheet again, and also really solidifies the answer with the timestamp from the lecture. Great. Looks like Sutton's on her way to a pretty good quiz here, but we will not stop picking on her and move on to somebody else. I'm going to pause the recording here for just a minute while I do that. Okay, so I'm going to go back, share my screen. And so here we have Weaver's answer sheet. So now we're down to question 5. Jobs in the blank economic sector were pull factors for the early 21st century internal migration of Latinos from the southwestern United States to the southeastern United States. So let's see what the answer is here. She answered A, primary sector. Okay, that's not correct. It's not correct, but okay. But let's see what her explanation was. It says March 11th, internal migration of Latinx people to take primary force jobs. That's borderline. I don't know how much credit I would give for that answer. I might have to actually go back and look at what I said. But I know that it was not primary sector jobs. Remember the primary sector jobs are in farming, mining, and so on and so forth. I have to go back and see what I said, because it is true that a lot of Latinx people have come to this region to work in the primary sector. I might have to reconsider that. See, this is where the strength of your explanation can help you out, because at first I said that answer is wrong. But then when I thought about it, when I saw Weaver's explanation, I said, you know what? I think I did say that. I think and it is true. A lot of Latinx people are working in agricultural type of activities, basically migrant workers in many cases, because again, we native-born Americans or what have you are not attracted to those types of jobs anymore. But we still like to eat fruits and vegetables, and we don't want to pick them. We don't want to be in the fields. So other people do those jobs. And that's just the case. And then to reference source. Now, the reference source kind of doesn't match up. I'll have to think about that one. Right now, I'm leaning towards giving her full credit for all three. Just being a little lenient, but I can't say that the answer's wrong. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's go on to the next question. Number 6. The majority of the workforce in the U.S. in 2021 is employed in the, and Weaver correctly answered C. March 11th lecture, African Americans, rights, primary, Latina. Wow. I mean, that's all that is true. Everything that Weaver said for C is true, but is it connected? I don't know. I'd have to split hairs here maybe and give 1 point, half a point for each of these two. Maybe no, I don't know. I have to think about this one. I don't know, because the reference source just simply is not the right reference source that would get you to the answer of C here. No. Remember, the tertiary sector is a service sector. So that's what I was looking for, was something mentioning, define what is the tertiary sector. So if you answer the question and the answer is tertiary sector of the economy, define that in your answer. So this would have been a better reference source would have been whatever page, I think it's page 56, where the tertiary sector of the economy is described as a service sector. That would have really solidified this answer. This one, I don't think so. There's nothing about tertiary sector mentioned in that article, but it is mentioned in the textbook. So when it comes, sometimes key in on a specific vocabulary word that's part of your answer. Define that in the reference source and or explanation, and that'll get you to where you want to be in terms of a good answer. Okay, let's go on to the next one for Weaver, number 7. Let's see, what's the question? The proliferation of African-based music throughout North America via the migration of African people is called, and let's see what the answer, Weaver's D, cultural diffusion, correct. So she got that one correct. And let's see, March, French and Cajun cultures. Let me look at this again. Okay, that explanation, again, you really, if you're more specific, even if you have to quote me directly, do it. That way, there's no doubt. These cells in the spreadsheet, the text wraps. I mean, there's no limit to what you can put in these cells. Don't think there's a limit. Even if you have to put a direct quote from me in the box, then there's no question. Leave as little question as possible about what the correct answer is. Don't have me sitting here going, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. If I read your explanation, I should be able to say, yeah, that's exactly what I said. That's correct. Don't leave any doubt, because if there's doubt, then I don't know what you were thinking, and I don't know. So there's a lot of doubt there as far as she's got cultural diffusion. Maybe I mentioned it, but then I don't know. That one's interesting. That was interesting. That one I have to think about. But her reference source is spot on. Textbook figure 1220, diffusion, boom. That I cannot dispute that. That's the reference source right there. That's exactly the figure I was talking about during that lecture. This one might be 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3. I'm not sure. I have to think about that there. Okay, let's go and I'm going to stop my share this time before I dip into other people's answers. Good job so far. You all getting better? These are definitely looking better. Let's look at Marshall. Okay. Another PDF. Jesus Christ. Okay. Okay, we have a lot going on here, but I'll try to figure it out. I'll go from the bottom up. That'll make it easier. Okay, so let me go back to my screen share. Okay, so here we have Marshall's answers. I'll start at the bottom. Number 10 will make it easier to interpret. So number 10, which one of the following is evident based upon the age-sex diagram below? Okay, so this is the age-sex diagram or population pyramid for the United States. And the answer she arrived at was D. Advertisers are likely to begin target marketing millennials as they are now the nation's largest generation. That is correct. That's the correct answer. So notice here, I guess she figured out, well, let's see what she was thinking. Let's just go to her answers. So correct, number 10, D. Working from the bottom, I guess this is the explanation. 90 million millennials, strong generation. The only thing I don't like about this, okay, let me look at her reference. If the reference source is tight, then Unit B with North America, millennials and real estate. Yeah, I mean, I would have to give her full credit for the answer, even though I don't like the way the answer is formed, but the content is there. You know, millennials in real estate, she read that article. It clearly supports her explanation, which clearly speaks to what the question was asking. 3 out of 3, no question, no question. Don't like the way it was formatted, but the content is there. What do they say? Sometimes it's substance over image. Doesn't look good, but it's right. You know, I can't deny that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Which one of the following is an example of the Great Migration? And so now we're going from the bottom up. Number 9, E. African-American family living in Alabama in the 1930s moves to Cleveland, Ohio. Excuse me, African-American man living in Alabama during the 1930s moves to Cleveland, Ohio to work in a steel mill. That is correct. Okay, so far so good. Let's see, explanation. Slavery states, what? Okay, that I don't know about. That one, let's see what, if the, okay, so with the reference source, she references the African-American migration experience. Again, it's not pretty, but I figured out what she means by that. It's not pretty, but it's okay. Okay. Oh, okay. See, this is why I went from the bottom to the top. She says the Great Migration was a movement from the rural South to the urban. Yeah, it was. I mean, okay, so I have to give full credit for that answer. Again, last one, number 7. Oh, excuse me, number 8. Which one of the following is an example of the exodusters migration? So she answered, okay. She answered, let's see, D. Whoops. D, which was an African-American family living in Nashville moves to rural Kansas. So the exodusters migration was a westward movement as opposed to a south to north movement. I talked about it in great detail. This explanation, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. The Exodus was a movement of relocation following the Civil War from slavery-like states to more social independent states. I don't know what that means, but okay. Let's look at so here it is. B, North American physical environment, African American experience. I don't know, that one's tough. In some cases, I'll give you 1. I'll let you slide on 1, but 2, after a while, I have to start saying, I don't know what's going on with these answers. But right now, like I said, I don't know what I'm going to say with that one. So again, hopefully these pointers will help you to do your best work on this week's quiz, research quiz, which I'll reveal in a few minutes. Well, probably best that I segue right into that now, since I am talking about the research quiz. So I don't know how the hell. Anyway, this is research quiz. Anyway, okay, so we're going to go back to the. I'm going to go to student view just to make sure that the quiz is visible to you. It is not. So I'm going to have to make it visible to the class by going here, back to developer role. Okay, go here to the Dropbox and make that quiz visible to the students. And I'm going to go back to student mode and make sure you all can see it. And there it is, research, Unit C research quiz. This is the 3rd one. You all should pretty much have the hang of this. Oh, wait. I'm going to take a pause for the cause. Okay, we're back. I'm going to share the screen again and go to student view. And let's see what we have here. Unit C, research quiz 3, here, and there it is. So this quiz for this week will focus upon the content that we covered last week, which mostly focused upon the the population geography of Latin America, if you remember. So you have last week's videos to review and assist you in answering the questions for this week. As usual, if you have any questions, let me know as soon as you feel that you have a question to ask. And so that is this week's assignment. It's due on April the 2nd, Friday. So Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning. So hopefully if you are engaged in any religious activities during this time, you will have plenty of time to do that and enjoy your weekend. If there's or other issues related to that, please let me know and we'll see. Okay, so let's take a look at the Stop my share for a moment. Let's take a look at the article reviews. I think they're getting better. At least they should be getting better. And so, I will catch up in grading these things. So I apologize for that. So let's see. Oh, I'm still in student mode. I wonder, it looks strange. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the article reviews that have been submitted. See, you all are stepping it up, turning in more of these article reviews. That's good. I need to step up and grade them. But if you've been listening, you've probably been doing better and better at these. So let's see. This one's a good one to take a look at. Okay, we'll take a look at this one. Share my screen. So here we have one that was turned in by Brianna McCullough. She has her article number, name, date, history major. Has article, what is GIS? Looks like it's just a website. And this GIS talks about the history of GIS. Okay, so let's see if strange, I can't seem to get a hold of it. Okay, let's take a look at it. Take a look at this article. That's why I have to have the link in there. What is GIS? So yeah, it goes through this GIS major do, blah, blah, blah. What can you do for cartographers, mapping, okay. Okay, it's an article. Okay, well, history. Okay. Anyway, okay. This is fine. I mean, what? Okay. Okay. So this is an example of using the essay to tie the article that you selected to geography and your major. At first, I was thinking there's no relationship here, but as Brianna wrote her essay, kind of see it a little bit. So your essay is very important in terms of taking the article that you found and tying all those things together. And McCullough did a pretty good job here. And she threw in life insurance agent. But okay. The textbook reference, the format of the textbook reference is good. She's got the section number, the page number, but your reference should be related to the article and, well, to the article itself. In this case, a better textbook reference would have been one discussing geographic information systems. And there's a big section in chapter 2. So if you find any article that is related to GIS, there's a big section of chapter 2 that you can reference, I think, chapter 1 or 2. But there's a lengthy discussion of GIS in the textbook. That would be a better reference source. Again, the other keywords, a keyword definitely should have been geographic information systems. Other than that, that's fine. Maybe GIS careers would be another good keyword. Also missing is a employment opportunity that is you'd find in Indeed or at Tiger Track. So let's look at another one. Stop my share here. Let's take a look at another, and then we'll move on. But these are getting a little better, at least more of you all are turning them in. Let me see somebody new here. I keep picking on the same people all the time. Let's see. This person. Okay, here's okay, I'll do this one just because it's a pre-service teacher. So we haven't looked at a lot of these that are done by. And again, just take this as constructive criticism. Don't take it personally. It's like I'm picking on anybody. I just want you all to get better. Okay, so here's Beverly, Article 3, date. I mean, that might not be the right article, but okay. Major, so clearly education major. And the citation has to be in a specific format, either APA, MLA. Most of the other article reviews that I've shown you have correctly formatted citation. If again you need help with that, in the in content, well, actually, along with the instructions in the Dropbox, I have this in several places. You go to student view. If you go to the actual assignment itself, you'll see that included are the MLA is an MLA style guide, Modern Language Association style guide for citing various types of articles, including articles that are found online, which most of you all will be finding your articles online, either newspaper articles online or internet articles online. So here is a very specific guide for citing in MLA style. So yeah, so that citation is there, but it should be in MLA style, basically. So she summarized the article. Good summary of the article, clearly. Good textbook, chapter 2.2, page 25. And then she explains why the article is most closely related to Standard 3, the world in spatial terms. Let's go back and take a look at that again. Okay, so actually, Standard 3 is how to analyze the spatial organization of people, places, and environments on the Earth's surface. What's listed here are the essential elements. Notice that the first 3 standards have the same spatial elements. Notice that the essential elements are somewhat closely related to the 4 traditions of geography. I don't know if you all noticed that. So from this point forward, the standards are actually these longer. You can click on the standard, and it's actually how to analyze the spatial organization of people, places, and environments on the Earth's surface. And then there's an explanation of what that all means and the different grade levels and so on and so forth. So if you're planning on being a teacher, get used to understanding teaching standards. And I think I've already explained what those are. Other than that, just this one needs just a little bit of work. Needs a citation. but very relatively well done. Just needs a little cleaning up from this point forward. So I am now going to take a short pause for the cause. Again, I'll pause the recording. Okay, so for the last part of today, we're going to launch into the next part of our unit, which is the physical geography of Latin America. And so for the remainder of this class period, we're going to look at the physical geography of Latin America, which is described in your reading assignment, which is here. Physical geography of Latin America. And if you notice, we are going to chapter 11, pages 465 to 478. So what we're going to do first is look at the climate of Latin America and the Caribbean. And we know just probably from experience that it's a different region. I'm going to go to chapter 11 images. I'm going to go straight to figure 11.2, which is the Köppen climate map for Latin America and the Caribbean. And it does have a portion of the southern part of the US there. But if nothing else, you'll notice that the climate regions are quite different. Notice that as opposed to North America, which was a diverse mix of C and D climates mostly, with some existence of A climates, but only really in Hawaii and southern Florida, those tropical climates. For Latin America and the Caribbean, the A climate types are dominant. See these A climate types, or what we know of as tropical rainy climates, and some of them are tropical permanently rainy climates. Some of them are tropical summer rain. So the A climates are dominant in the region between the Tropic of Cancer, which is at 23.5 degrees north latitude, and the Tropic of Capricorn, which is at 23.5 degrees south latitude. Remember, the tropical region is where the sun's direct rays strike someplace throughout the year. Notice that for those of us in North America, north of the Tropic of Cancer, we never experience the sun's direct rays at any time during the year. So our climate is quite different than that of the tropical region, which is where most of Latin America and the Caribbean is. Now, once we get south of the Tropic of Capricorn, as you can see, we do see a little greater presence of C climates and even D climates in the higher latitude south region. But that's mostly associated with the high altitudes of the mountains. And then we get into the E climates as we approach the South Pole. So let's take a look at some of the characteristics of these climate regions. And so one of them is we can do this by examining the various climate graphs. So here is a climate graph for Lima, Peru. So let's go here. I want you to take a really close look at this climate graph. Because it's going to explain a lot of what is unique about this region. So we're going to go to Lima, Peru. And so notice that Lima is on the west coast of South America. It's Lima, Peru. And if we take a look at the climate graph for Lima, Peru, you will notice that the climate graph is of a BW climate region. So remember, B is a desert climate region. And if we're going to be more specific, let's go to the first image for chapter 11, which is image 11.1, which describes some of the physical regions of South America. Notice this region on the west coast of South America is a desert. It's specifically the Atacama Desert. The Atacama Desert is one of the driest places on Earth. Okay, so it's on the west coast of South America. So notice that in this climate graph, you're actually given the amount of precipitation that falls in this region throughout the year. 0.6 of a millimeter. That's it. 0.6 of a millimeter of precipitation. That's all that falls here on average throughout the year. And so no, wait, I'm sorry. It's 11 millimeters. I'm very sorry where that came from. Yes, 11 millimeters is the cumulative total of the millimeters of precipitation that fall in this area. But still, 11 millimeters is not a whole lot of precipitation. That's less than half an inch. Okay, so less than half an inch of precipitation falls in Lima, Peru throughout any given year. Very dry place. Conversely, let's look at a place that's not very far away from Lima, Peru, and that's Iquitos, Peru. So let's go to Iquitos, Peru climate graph. Very different climatic environment here, as you can see. Let's see. So where is Iquitos, Peru? Well, let's do this. Let's do something different. Let's go to ArcGIS Online. Sign in, because we're going to use the measure tool here. Go to the map here. So we start out with Lima, Peru. And then we'll also want to look for, there's Lima, and then we'll find Iquitos, Peru here. So there's Iquitos, Peru, there's Lima, Peru. So we're going to use the measure tool to see how far those two cities are apart from one another. So we have Iquitos to Lima, straight line distance, about 622 miles. So let's see, it's 250 miles from Nashville to Atlanta. It's not quite, it might be about 600 miles from Nashville to Miami, maybe. I can measure it out, I won't, but I'm thinking that's about right. Very close to 600 miles from Nashville to Miami. Just to give you a frame of reference in terms of distance, okay? So in other words, we would not expect for these two cities that are relatively close to one another to have such drastically different climates, would we? But when we look at the climate graph for Iquitos, Peru, you'll notice that there's much more precipitation than 11 millimeters. Now, this one gives the precipitation in centimeters instead of millimeters. So just keep that in mind. So let's say this is, instead of 60 centimeters, let's say this is 600 millimeters, 500 millimeters, 200 millimeters. So there are about 250 millimeters per inch. If you want to use that conversion factor, you can see the inches here on this graph. But in any case, there's a lot more precipitation here, much more precipitation in Lima than there is in, in Iquitos than there is in Lima. And you might ask, well, they're not that far apart. Why do we have such a huge difference in precipitation with these two cities that aren't very far apart? Well, if you notice, the Andes mountain range is located in between these two cities. And so that mountain range does affect the climate in this region very much. So in your reading, you'll come across something called the rain shadow effect of the Andes mountain range. And so if you notice from the schematic diagram here, that the prevailing wind direction across South America is the opposite of our prevailing wind direction here in the United States. So the winds, if you notice, the winds or weather systems come out of the west in North America. So in other words, if we're in Nashville and we want to know what weather systems might be approaching Nashville, we can look at what's happening in Memphis first, because they're going to get whatever we get a little earlier than we do. And so obviously Memphis is to the west of us. But in South America, it's the opposite. Prevailing winds are the southeast trade winds. They blow in the opposite direction of the westerlies wind belt that affects us. And so when that happens, these trade winds come off of the Atlantic Ocean, pick up moisture, and then drop that moisture on the windward side of the Andes range. So this is where Iquitos, Peru is, over here on this windward side. So they get a lot of precipitation. That moisture precipitates out of the air or the atmosphere. And then you wind up with dry air, very dry air. It descends down the leeward side of the mountain range. And that is what has caused the Atacama Desert to exist there. And that's where Lima is. So you have Lima, Atacama Desert, Iquitos, which is more on the side of the windward side of the Andes range, and is situated in the Amazon River Basin here in figure 11.1. So the Amazon River Basin is obviously the drainage basin for the Amazon River. The Amazon River is not the longest river in the world, but it's the largest river in the world in terms of volume. So this is a massive, massive drainage basin that is fed by those rains that are induced as the trade winds drop moisture as they encounter the Andes mountain range. And the Andes mountain range is very significant. Notice some of the highest peaks are at over 22,000 feet above mean sea level. You know, relatively very high peaks there. So you should continue to look at the physical geography of the Latin America and the Caribbean. And so we've looked at a B climate in Lima, Peru, desert climate. We looked at an A climate in Iquitos, Peru. I believe this was an AF climate, which is pretty much the equivalent of an AW climate textbook. And next, we will pick it up by looking at a seasonal climate graph in Cuiabá, Brazil. You can see the difference here. Lots of precipitation in the so-called winter months, but then in the summer months, almost nothing. So we'll start there next time. In the meantime, please get to work on your quiz for this week. It's due on Friday. You should reference the recordings from last week. Actually, they're still here, so I might extend those. The Latin American population geography, part 1 and part 2. Will give you some guidance, and obviously the Latin American population geography reading assignment will give you even more insight into coming up with correct answers to this week's quiz. So enjoy the rest of your day. I will post this recording as soon as possible.